This video is sponsored by Stack Audio, manufacturers of the Orva speaker and equipment isolation feet used by a British audiophile. For more information about these and other products, please click the link in the description. A few months ago I put together a video featuring some of my favourite starter hi-fi systems. The idea was to put together solutions that overcame some of the common objections that most people have to putting a decent sounding hi-fi system in their home, and those are that they're too expensive, too fiddly to use, ugly to look at and take up too much space. It doesn't have to be that way. There are elegant solutions these days that take up minimal space and still manage to sound really good, all for less money than you'd spend on a smartphone. The three packages I put together all had HDMI ARC as well, making them double up for 2-channel home cinema duties without the need to touch anything other than the TV remote control. There was a time if you wanted a streamer, DAC and amplifier all built into a compact chassis for less than £1,000, Bluesound were the only game in town. Not anymore, so let's check out the latest offering from Eversolo. The Eversolo Play is a one-box just add speakers hi-fi solution retailing for £599 in the UK. A version with a ROM drive to play and rip CDs is also available for £100 extra. You could be forgiven for mistaking it for a WiiM product due to the proportions and rounded edges of the aluminium alloy chassis, but it's definitely an Eversolo offering. Measurements are 230 by 230 by 75mm or 9.1 by 9.1 by 3 inches. The standard version weighs 2.6 kilograms, 5.7 pounds, with the CD variant being a little heavier. The main visual distinguisher from the cheaper WiiM Ultra amp, also recently released, is the size and the quality of the screen. Here we have a 5.5-inch high-resolution LCD colour touchscreen. It's a joy to interact with, responsive with the kind of common sense intuition to the user interface that anyone who owns a smartphone will have no trouble navigating. More on the specifics of the UI later. The solitary dial is pressed to take the unit in and out of standby, and the volume adjustment is carried out as expected. The ring light around it actually changes colour dependent on the genre of music being played. Funky or gimmicky, I'll let you decide. On the business end are all the connections I would wish for on such a device. HDMI ARC for easy integration with a TV, an optical and coaxial digital input, a line level RCA input, and phono input that supports turntables fitted with moving magnet and moving coil cartridges. The streamer will operate wirelessly or via an Ethernet LAN connection. The USB ports double up for accessing music stored on external drives or as an asynchronous input for external streamers. There's also a coaxial digital and subwoofer output. It's nice to see all metal gold-plated speaker binding posts on a device in this price range rather than the plastic connectors that many have. Inside is an AKM 4493 SEQ DAC chip featuring Ashai Kasai's Micro Devices Velvet sound technology with noise and impedance shaping to deliver a richer sound. A single TPA 3255 Class D chip from Texas Instruments gives a 60 watt per channel rating into 8 ohms and 120 watts into 4 ohms. Eversolo have a large team of people dedicated to software development. It shows in how fast, stable, slick and comprehensive the user interface is, only matched by WiiM in my experience. Small audiophile companies just can't compete. None of the major streaming services are omitted. Spotify, Tidal, Qobuz, as well as Apple and Amazon are supported, along with many others. Users who prefer not to use the Eversolo app are catered for via Roon, Tidal Connect and Qobuz Connect. What more can you ask for? I have little interest in going through all the features as it would fill an entire video, so here are some highlights. In the settings menu there are 7 VU meter displays to choose from, providing some visual interest. There's a basic graphic equalizer and a much more comprehensive 10-band parametric EQ that allows for the finest adjustments in frequency response by adjusting the gain and the Q, which is the steepness of the slope. The Eversolo Play has room correction For the most accurate implementation, a USB calibrated mic should be plugged into one of the ports at the back, but a rudimentary adjustment can be done by placing a smartphone or tablet in the listening position and following some simple instructions. All the functionality offered via the app, which is downloadable on iOS and Android devices, is replicated on the display of the device. It's large and responsive enough to be of use, not just for show. A few years ago, I knew exactly what to expect from amplifiers that use Class D chips at the accessible end of the market, a clean but thin sound with limited dynamics. But that isn't the case anymore, thanks to what I've heard from Infineon chips. But that's a discussion for another day. Texas Instrument chips also sound really good when well implemented. Yes, the Eversolo Play is a rich sounding amplifier with decent bass weight and a full mid-range. In terms of fidelity, it gives little away to entry-level Class AB amplifiers that retail for about £300 to £400. The bass is somewhat plump but motors along nicely. The mid-range transients are a little bit soft, but there's good body and a hint of a decay. I wouldn't describe the Eversolo Play as being bright, but it isn't rolled off in the high frequencies either. It's just an easygoing sound that you can listen to all day without fatigue for those who prefer a warm tonal balance. In absolute terms, the soundstage is limited to between the speakers with minimal depth. Vocals, lead instruments and percussive elements are all separated, but in a pretty crude manner. It's all pleasant with a fair sense of drive, as evidence playing The Beat is the Rhythm by Club de Belugas, a dynamite-infused jazz electronic track that's impossible to sit still to. For £600, it's possible to put together better sounding electronics if you opt for 2 boxes rather than 1. The Bluesound Node Nano hooked up to the SMSL Raw HA1 amp is more resolving with tighter bass, crisper mids and area highs, but you're giving up the fancy display and room correction offered by Eversolo. The Bluesound SMSL combo presents a slightly wider soundstage with better instrument separation. I've talked about how good the Nano is on numerous occasions, but that little SMSL amplifier, that's a little cracker too. For £250, it comes with a Cirrus Logic DAC, HDMI ARC connection and an amplifier based on an Infineon Class D chip, throwing out 85 watts per channel into 8 ohms and 165 watts per channel into 4 ohms. If saving space is not a consideration, then the best full rack width sized amplifier I've heard in this class will give better performance. The £350 Cambridge Audio AXA35 opens up the sound field to extend beyond the speakers left and right, with good depth, when combined with the Nano, but there's no DAC or display, just streamer and amp. Tonality may determine what winds up being the best choice for you. The Eversolo Play is distinctly warm in character, the Nano SMSL combo marginally warm, whereas the Nano Cambridge Audio Duo reverts back to being distinctly warm as well. My final comparison is with the £319 WiiM amp. It may not have the display but has a very similar feature set, connectivity options and uses the same TPA3255 Class D amplifier chip. As a straight amp, there isn't much to choose between the performance of the WiiM amp and the Eversolo Play. DAC performance is a slightly different matter. The WiiM amp uses an old ESS 9018 K2M chip, which isn't quite as resolving as the AKM chip in the Play. I think you have to step up to the Pro version of the WiiM amp, which has, let me get this right, an ESS 9038 Q2M chip, which is going to be more comparable to what's inside the Eversolo Play. There's still no display on the £400 WiiM amp Pro, so you need to work out if paying £200 extra for a 5.5 inch LCD colour touchscreen display on the Eversolo is worth it. Before someone comments, I know WiiM have just launched the Ultra version of their amp, which I may well get in for review at some point, but compared to the standard WiiM amp and the Pro version, you seem to get what you pay for with the Eversolo Play. So what else do you need to know? One of the great things about the Eversolo Play is how consistent it sounds, whether it's played through its internal streamer or external devices connected digitally via optical, coaxial, USB and the analog line level input. The TV connected via HDMI ARC works well too. Normally there's at least one input that lets the side down, but not on this occasion, although I didn't test the phono stage. Turntable users will have to refer to other reviewers they trust for that. Most of my listening was done with the Monitor Audio Silver 107Gs. Their cool tonality was nicely counterbalanced by the fuller sounding Eversolo Play. The Play doesn't have quite enough clarity to justify spending £800 on the Silver 100s, but I suspect something from Monitor Audio's bronze range would be ideal. With the absence of price-appropriate speakers being available, I turned to my £1,500 Dali Mini SEs, if only to determine what the possible synergy was like between these two brands. I'm not suggesting spending £1,500 on monitors to pair with this amplifier, but Dali speakers tend to have a slightly warm but still very natural sounding mid-range, so something from the Oberon range should work really well if you're looking for an organic type of presentation. My general recommendation due to limited current is to stick to speakers, stand mount speakers up to about £500 and maybe floor standards ranging up to about £1,000. They typically tend to be designed to be easy to drive. The excellent Acoustic Energy A100 Mark IIs retailing for £280 would be at the top of my audition list. Clean, dynamic sounding speakers with decent bass for their size. For desktop scenarios, the £275 Pro-Ject Box E3 Carbons also offer wonderful resolution and a neutral tonal balance, similar to the AE100s but with less low-end heft due to a smaller enclosure. Both those two sets of speakers worked really well with the WiiM amp when I reviewed it a few months ago, and because the Eversolo Play is so similar in sound and design, they should work great with it too. Okay, time to wrap things up. The Eversolo Play is a robustly constructed, visually appealing device with one of the finest user interfaces in the industry. Whether you're interacting with the app or the unit itself, a parametric EQ and room correction are also included with no subscription charge. The support for streaming services and streaming platforms is also comprehensive, as is the connectivity. Digital inputs and analog input, moving magnet and moving core phono cartridges, as well as HDMI ARC for easy integration with the TV are all catered for. Sonically, the warm tone, reasonable drive and overall fidelity is comparable to very good Class A/B amplifiers for about £400, so for £200 extra the convenience and elegance of a DAC and streamer built in seems to make a lot of sense. If you're not bothered about the display, then the WiiM amp has similar sonic ability for less, and as I mentioned earlier in this video, for this price it is possible to get better sound quality from a separate streamer and amplifier, but you're adding complexity and not gaining that much in audio performance. Stick to speakers that are fairly easy to drive, and this overall package has a great deal of appeal. The Eversolo Play gets highly recommended from this channel. My question for today is, what are your experiences of streamers and their user interfaces? Please share the good, the bad and the ugly in the comment section. I'll look forward to that. I'm sure you know what to do by now if you want to support me here on what I do. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Check me out on Patreon. There's a couple of tiers you can access there if you think I can help you on your audiophile journey. Also check out the ABA Club on Patreon, which has some great ways to interact with me and fellow Patreons. But for today, for now, a British audiophile, signing off.